what works today will not necessarily work tomorrow. And what works today will probably not work in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, which is when we think about, well, how do we have fat loss? How do we lose the weight and how do we keep it off? You have to continuously moving things forward in a way that's enjoyable for you. And if you don't have any background and you don't have any exposure, like how are you supposed to know what you enjoy? Welcome back to Beyond the Pump, where we talk about the business of fitness and nutrition. And today we are shifting gears here a little bit, and we're going to reorient ourselves and talk about the baseline issue, which is really at the whole center of why we do what we do. And it's to help people that are dealing with health issues finally make some meaningful progress. So we're going to highlight why people keep making these mistakes and what they can start to do about them. So that way, as health consumers, as people that are trying to look better, feel better, and perform better in some sense, they're going to really have the opportunity to start to put together some meaningful frameworks. So, Steve, what do we got here? What do you? You good?
I'm
that
good.
Blue really pops.
The blue pops.
The blue pops.
You like the blue?
The blue made us really see your tattoo for the first time in a different way.
All of a sudden, I was like, oh, he's got a tattoo.
Yeah.
I'm missing a whole piece still. But
well, no, that's the white ink part. So you gotta. Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you think you're gonna put down there? Actually, just
no idea.
Okay. All right. Well, did you know that tattoos will actually increase your lifespan by about 12 years? I made that up. But then how do you start to discern, which is one of the things I think is really important for people to figure out, how do you figure out what's bullshit in social media? How do you figure out what you should be paying attention to and how to implement that stuff? And, there's a lot of other things that you could do as a health consumer. And we're going to start to break some of that stuff down. So, Steve, in your experience with the history of being a personal trainer and having all the fitness facilities that you ran, like I'm sure you ran into a lot of things that people would just recurringly blunder through when they were trying to achieve a specific health outcome, whether it's lose a couple pounds or get ready for a wedding.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is always doing a lot of cardio and not eating a lot. Is just a recurring theme across the board for 90% of people who are some way, shape, or form trying to look better.
Yeah.
Lose weight, tone up, whatever it might be. And, history would say, if we eat less, we'll lose weight. We understand that. Physics would say that to an extent till you plateau all these components. And your typical consumer is being blasted by health advertisements all day in so many different avenues. Even when you go walk down the aisle in the supermarket trying to buy something and it has, oh, this is a protein bar. And you look at it, it's like, there's 5 grams of protein in there. Does this bar contain protein? Absolutely. Is it what I would classify as a protein bar? Absolutely not. So that's advertising at work, and that's trying to play into some of the things we're seeing. So you see juice cleanses, you see take these pills, you see do this, you see wear that suit, all this stuff. It's easy to get lost in what is right and what is wrong today.
Well, and I really appreciate starting with the principle. If you haven't watched that episode yet, we talk about principles versus tactics. Make sure you subscribe and stay up to date with that stuff so you're not lost when we talk about that stuff. But the principle here is, how do we burn more calories than what we take in? Right? A lot of people will historically definitely do the cardio thing, and then that'll help them burn more calories, but then they'll also take in less calories, which creates that. And initially it does lead to that weight loss. And so this is the thing that people get addicted to. I know this works, but they're not actually sure what's working about it. The thing that we know, and this is where science, in someone that's trying to conservatively, slowly, sustainably lose weight, which most organizations will say right now it's about 1% of your body weight per week is the general recommendation. If you lose faster than that, you're probably going to lose more lean body mass, because we know that when you're losing weight, it's not just body fat, unfortunately. And so that's where people associate, and they kind of, put these things together of, if I eat less, I'll lose weight. If I lose weight, then I'll be skinny. Yes, but that's where skinny fat comes in, or people still don't have that toned, active appearance that I think they're inherently chasing when they do that.
Yeah, and it's even, again, you were my coach, and I still get to learn from you on a daily basis. And whenever I'm lost and I have questions, it's like, oh, let me ask Andrew. But going down that road, when that journey for me first started, I understood the idea of, hey, let's increase our metabolism, right? And and whatnot, and then lose fat behind it. But I still had these tendencies based upon just how I grew up. So there's stuff that is just ingrained in us that we also have to battle as well. And for any consumer out there, that's part of what it is. So it was ingrained in them. If you grew up, in a certain era, whole milk is bad for you, right? Or carbs are bad for you, or something is bad, right? Right now, seed oil's terrible. So like you look at all these things, and there's these spans of life where a thing is bad and people are going to try to avoid it simply because, and that changes you on the inside, because for so long it's bad.
Yeah.
Getting it to be good that's a challenge.
That's actually really interesting, because I never really thought about this until you just brought that to light. But it's, people will kind of give up on certain things, and that's why when these new trends emerge, they often effectively help people feel like they're making progress of, for a while it was Atkins, and then it was paleo, and then it was keto. And so like we've kind of seen these dietary revolutions that seem like they last about 5 to 8 years, and people will try them. They might work the first time, they don't work the second time, they for sure stop working around the third time. And now it's like, well, what's next? And then someone's going to come up with an idea that's usually wash, rinse, repeated from some other era, right? You look at Atkins, you look at keto, like there's some strong similarities in that. Which is effectively like the reduction of carbohydrate. Although the keto diet, obviously, like you're supposed to kind of reduce your protein intake too, which most people don't realize. But like, so we look at the marketing cycles, going back to the original thing that I suggested, and that people are just super susceptible to misinformation. So how do you even know what to pay attention to? And this is where having someone there to guide you, or having trusted resources, I think really goes a long way. Of they're credentialed and their experience. That's what creates a qualified professional. People that are just certified, and we talk about that in a previous episode. So if you haven't already gone to see that one, make sure you check in with that one. But
it's that credentialed, certified coach. It's their responsibility to stay up to date with the important things.
Yeah. 100%.
So you as the consumer can either be trying to stay up to date with all the things, running your life, family, kids, job, whatever the things are that you have to do, and try to keep up with all of the information, the studies, the trends, all those pieces. Or you can forget about that and just let somebody guide you and get you there, which is usually going to decrease the amount of time it takes you to get the result. So a lot of times it's like, oh, coaches are expensive. Yeah, because they're saving you the actual most valuable thing in your life, which is time. Yeah. Like we had a conversation with somebody today. It's like, man, I have this thing coming up, and I got to figure out how I got to figure this thing out. And like, we're just breaking down like, hey, I would do this and I would do that. And here's all the things that I would do and all this stuff. And it's like, we make it sound easier than it is. Yeah. But it also isn't that hard or impossible. His response was like, oh, I got to hang out with more people like you guys. It's like, yeah, that's kind of the idea of the coach is to save you time. Usually it's by you spending some money, but you can either spend time or money. Which one's more limited? And again, within reason, if you don't have money to spend, like, I get it, right? There's reasons there, but that's the whole job of a coach. Cut through the bullshit and give you what is going to be the fastest path forward on achieving your goal. I have a friend, he's like, hey, I actually told you about this. I want you to help me. I need to lose some weight, blah, blah, blah. So I give him my spiel. I'm like, I am a really bad coach because this isn't health and nutrition and fitness coaching isn't my forte. I understand it to the extent of my journey. Outside of that, it's a struggle for me to give you true advice anymore, simply because it's not my day to day. I focus more on the coaches growing their business. So my way or the highway, in the most loving way possible. I was like, okay. So give him his instructions. Day 1, nails it. Day 2, nails it. Day 3, challenge. Day 4, stops. Doesn't say anything. Doesn't ask for help. So I see him after a week. Hey man, how's it going? Oh, yeah. It got really hard. I'm like, all right. He's like, yeah, I just went to chat and I had it give me a meal plan. I'm like, based upon what criteria? I'm like, well, he goes, I told it my age and I'm a male and I have diverticulitis. And I'm like, how does it know how much like protein and calories and water and fiber that you should have? He's like, oh, well, it just gave me a meal plan. I'm like, okay. I go, you realize at the end of what I told you to do, you were going to have the guardrails for a meal plan, right? He's like, well, yeah, but I'm like, so I need you to do 7 days of work. You'd have a meal plan. He's like, oh, I guess I didn't think about it that way. I'm like, yeah, you went halfway there and then gave up. He's like, oh, okay. So it's just one of those things where if he listens, I cut time in half. I guarantee you in 90 days, hey, Steve, you think we can help again?
Yeah. Well, and I think you also bring up a great point in that there's just so much information people would take in. It slows their decision making, which then they get frustrated because they need to, unfortunately, it takes time for the work to work. And this is where people that are, and I strongly encourage people to do this. If you are a savvy consumer, don't spend money on a coach. Go use ChatGPT. Give it the baseline information that you would usually use. That's completely fine. The problem with that becomes, A, it's easier to blow off a device, so you won't necessarily stick to the structured plan. I tried this for about a month. I wrote 4 different annual training plans using ChatGPT. Fucking 4. And I did them for like a week. I'm like, I think I want to do something else. Right? And so there's a function of another individual if you are seeking a coach and you don't want to do it yourself and whatever else, and is that they can keep you accountable and they can provide some structure and they can give you pushback, which I think is really important as people are like, automate everything. Well, if you automate idiocy, like that's not exactly the best outcome, right?
Automate doing something really bad for me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like going back to your friend here. He asked for a thing and it didn't push back in terms of it didn't contextualize the information it gave him. It didn't understand nuance. And I will say, like, as of current day, GPT is good for 50% of it, right? The other successful execution of that is where it limits, and the refinement process can also be limited if you don't know what to ask it, if you don't have any understanding of the industry, the material, what general decision-making processes and how your body responds to that stuff. It's probably one of the worst things you could do because, frankly, you can't give it the right inputs.
And you have a ton of bias too.
Yep.
I realize as I'm writing some of my programs using chat, I go into it and I'm like, all right, I want to do ABCD type of workout. You know, do you think that's best for my goals? And it goes, yeah. Versus
I hate that shit.
asking the generalized question of like, hey, here's my recent history, here's my outcomes. What do you think the next best thing for me to do is to achieve this outcome, which I've now changed, and it delivers me workouts that I don't want to do because, you know. But now it's like, again, it's that prompting, trying to remove some bias that your typical consumer doesn't know how to do.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you know, I love the saying that fish don't see the water they swim in because you're so used to it. And so, you know, there is an element of stretch.
How about humans don't see the air that they breathe in?
They don't. They walk through it.
Is that just the same thing?
It's a fluid. It's a fluid. But, you know, I mean, just kind of like understanding just the nuances is where that only, and I will say this, if you're brand new, it doesn't matter. You can go walk on the treadmill and lose weight. You can stop drinking Diet Coke or, you know, Coca-Cola or some kind of sugar beverages and lose weight, right? There's any number of things you could do. And this is where ChatGPT might help you cut that list down in half. And you might do those things. They might be effective. But what works today will not necessarily work tomorrow. And what works today will probably not work in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, which is when we think about, well, how do we have fat loss? How do we lose the weight and how do we keep it off? You have to continuously moving things forward in a way that's enjoyable for you. And if you don't have any background and you don't have any exposure, like how are you supposed to know what you enjoy? And the GPT thing is not necessarily going to directly offer you those things without being probed or prompted. Again, as of today, which is 2025, who knows, maybe GPT 5, 6, probably drastically different. But I mean, the human touch makes such a big deal. So I will say that to kind of recap, you know, for me, like the noise, the misinformation, you have to cut down on that stuff. You have to be able to create a plan, and then you have to stick to the plan. Imagine like, you know, here's your financial plan, like go do this. And then they just spend all their money and they're living paycheck to paycheck because they have 40 different subscriptions to HBO, Netflix, Hulu, Peacock. What else am I missing? Amazon Prime. Like there's so many.
HBO Max.
HBO Max. Skinamax. No, not that one. I don't think that's around anymore. But like there's so many different subscriptions that could exist. And you know, I think the average American has about 14 subscriptions and they don't even know how many they actually have. They surveyed these people. And so that's where having an accountability system, whether it's ChatGPT, which again could work, whether it is a coach, whether it's a small group, whether it's somewhere to show up so that way you feel obligated to continue to execute the plan and you feel supported doing so. Those are the things that I think make the biggest difference for people sticking with it, why they keep messing up. And oftentimes it just comes down to a function of your environment. Are you around the right people with the right drive, in the right with the right tools? And if you're not, then
And it's also hard to, you'll see progress initially on most any change that you make.
Yeah.
And then you stop making progress, or it's less noticeable. And it becomes very hard to willpower your way through to the finish line there too. So understanding some of the changes that are maybe not as prevalent also becomes key to your overarching theme of what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, the whole iceberg idea where you only see a little bit, but you see there's a lot below the water. There is a lot to be said for putting in the reps. And I showed my buddy, I was like, here's my last 2 years of my weight gain. You see my weight go up, my weight go down, my weight go up, my weight go down. I go, but here's my fat loss. And you just see continual steady down in fat loss. And he's like, oh yeah, that's what I want. I'm like, okay, you might have to gain some weight then. He's like, but why? And like I tell him and this and that and everything. And he's like, oh yeah, well, muscle weighs more than fat. I'm like, the statement itself is false, but I know what you mean. I go, 1 pound of muscle is the same as 1 pound of fat in terms of weight. But 1 pound of muscle is a lot less size than 1 pound of fat. And that's what you're trying to hint at. He's like, oh yeah, okay, blah, blah, blah. So it's also one of those things that like we just don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And as a normal consumer, that becomes the issue where like, what is the next best thing? What are we truly working on? Is it as visible to yourself of just looking in the mirror or jumping on a scale? Those things aren't always there. And you also have to have seasons of what you're working on. If you're always working on weight and fat loss, eventually you're going to stall.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when we think about in a conservative deficit, I don't think I finished this thought earlier as I say this out loud, ADHD rabbit hole. But 25% of the weight you lose when you're losing it slowly is going to be lean body mass. That means that every pound you lose, 75% of that, or 0.75 pounds, is going to be body fat, and 0.25 pounds is, let's just say, muscle, because it's easier to understand than lean body mass, right? So now what we see is that over time, let's say you lose 10 pounds. That means you're going to lose 2.5 pounds of muscle. And again, please, if you are actually well versed in this, understand we're using lean body mass and muscle mass interchangeably for the sake of the consumer, right? But if you lose 20 pounds, that means you're going to lose roughly how much, right? 25% is 5 pounds of muscle tissue. If you lose 50...
Math problem for me, 12 and a half.
12 and a half, right? And so when we start doing this, though, it starts to draw out the eventuality of, let's say you lose your 50-pound weight goal, and you go from 180 to 150. That means now you've lost 40 pounds of fat, which
180
is...
to 130.
I'm sorry, yes, thank you.
Okay. Thought you were messing with me.
No. I was thinking about the numbers on the back end. But you lost 40 pounds of body fat, and you lost 10 pounds of muscle. Now what happens when you stop losing weight? Well, most people will go back to doing the thing that they were doing in the first place, which is why they don't have a long-term plan. You can have anything you want, you just have to sequence it appropriately. And so, you know, when we think about, actually, you know what, Tyrell, can you hand me that book real quick? Our wonderful podcast producer. Not that book, the big one on the bottom. Yes, that one. All right, we have a prop here for you. Thank you. Hey, can we pull that up on the screen? I always wanted to do that, actually. But my point is like, this is one of about 19 different textbooks that I have and that I've accumulated throughout my education, master's and whatnot. And imagine like having to learn all this stuff to just solve like, what do I need to do tomorrow to lose weight? It would be impractical. But that's part of the process of when we talk about like, you can do it yourself, which is very costly because it takes you a lot of time.
This seems really easy.
You can...
TEE equals 662 minus open parentheses 9.53 times age, close parentheses, plus PAL, times open bracket, open parentheses 15.91 times W, close parentheses, plus open parentheses 539.6 times H, close parentheses, close bracket. What?
That sounds like the Harris-Benedict, or it's one of the weight loss equations.
That's super easy, though, for everybody to understand.
Yeah, if you don't know how to translate pounds to kilograms, which most of you don't, if you're freedom.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why everybody isn't just an amazing self-coach.
There's a lot to learn, and this is why when you talk about like the time that it would take for most people to learn the stuff they would need, and then trial and error it to see if it's successful for them or not. Because by the way, like what we know in research and stuff, this is what works okay for most people. It's not what works perfectly for every single person. So when you hear people say, well, the research doesn't say that, well, all right, like, listen, the research isn't conclusive. The research is suggestive. And so when you want to get really good at doing things, you have to be good at trial and error. The benefit of having someone do it with you or doing it for you, right? Because we have three things. You can do it yourself, costly because it takes you a lot of time and frustration, and you're probably going to quit like most people. Number two, done with you, which is like a coach tells you go out, do this, you come back, you bring them feedback, and you're like, hey, how'd this go? And they give you insight, they give you guidance, and they help you play the game better. And then done for you is basically like I would just consider like surgical interventions, I would consider like the weight loss drugs, stuff like that is going to make it significantly easier for you to then adopt that thing. So at the end of the day, you got to figure out, well, what resources do you have? And then allocate those appropriately based upon the things that you keep struggling against. And most people are going to not know what to do, or they're not going to stick with it long enough to continue to do it. And that's why people keep falling into those same traps over and over and over again. So if anything, if you need help, like we're here, there's a lot of coaches. You can Google like nutrition fitness coaches. Just make sure that you check out our previous episode where we talk about how to find out if someone's actually worth the money as a coach. So generally speaking.
And said a different way, coaches, because obviously we're talking to that consumer right now a little bit. Yeah. This is all stuff that you should understand and how you should be able to be coaching your clients. If you are not out there staying up to date, understanding, learning some new things continually to improve your craft, at some point in time you're going to become outdated. And that just is a reality of what we have going on. So if you want to have that leg up, it doesn't mean you need to go get a ton of certifications. It means you just need to understand what's going on and some of the new information that's out there. So you need to go find a resource, find a community, find a place that you can get information for relative ease and inexpensive to be able to take these things in so you can then bring this to your clients and help them. And this is how you figure out, how do I go out, market? How do I go out, have conversations? How do I go out, solve better problems faster? How do I go out, solve bigger problems faster? All of those things. Listen to this in that vein as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to give you a frame of reference and close this out, this is about protein right here on this page. This is also about protein. Look how thick that is. That's just about protein, right? It gets kind of crazy and not all of it's relevant or neutral or helpful. And so at the end of the day, like whether you fall off the wagon at week 2, week 5, if you don't feel like you know where to start, find some help because you're only ever stuck if you don't ask for it. But I mean, Steve, any closing thoughts as we wrap up this episode? And
you're supposed to be paying the money to speed up the outcome, and that's really the big thing here. So if you want to get a result in 1 month, what's that worth to you? If you want to get a result in 3 months, what's that worth to you? And if you're okay taking a year to get the result, what's that worth to you? Mm-hmm. Obviously, certain results you can't produce in a certain amount of time. So again, within reason. But that really comes down to the value of a coach and the value of somebody helping you solve your problems more effectively, more quickly.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a cost to everything, and there's a side effect. And so the side effect of not having a coach or trying to figure it out and you don't really have any background in it is frustration. Well, we know that people quit things when they're frustrated. I mean, it makes sense. But, I think at the end of the day, finding a way that you can couple your nutrition, your fitness in a way that's fun, sustainable, and meaningful for you is going to be the best thing that you could do as a health consumer in 2025. So with all that said, if you like this episode, you appreciated it, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. And realistically, share this with someone that you think is overcomplicating it, because it can really make a profound difference if they hear it from someone else versus you being the expert in your own city or town, and people just like, yeah, whatever. But thanks so much for tuning in to Beyond the Pump, where we talk about the business of fitness and nutrition, and we'll see you guys in the next one.